For my placement, I volunteered at Escolar Metre Enrique Gilbert Cummins. It is a public school for children from the ages of preschoolers to grade 6. The school is located between the La Sagrera neighborhood and the St. Andrew neighborhood. I volunteered with kids from ages of 4 to 5 years old. My role was to help the students learn English. I would play with the students for 30 minutes at the start of my day and then assist their English teacher with different activities on a day to day basis. While I was playing with the kids at the start of the class, we mostly played with toys or played different games together. If we were playing with a toy that related to something we learned the week before, I would try and review them on such things in English. Once the English teacher would come in, we would separate the class into two groups. From here, we would go to a different classroom where we typically would review what we were doing the week before. When I first got to the school, they were learning about the weather. The teacher often used different songs to help the children learn how to describe the weather in English. For the rest of my placement, every morning the children would have to describe what the weather was like for that day and color in a worksheet. After they were able to describe the different seasons, we began teaching them what the different articles of clothing were called. I would then work individually with students and they would have to dress up a cutout piece of paper with clothing and put the clothes on it. Here I would see if they remembered the names of certain clothing and help them work on their pronunciation. After learning about the weather and the name of the clothing, we moved on to farm animals. Their English teacher again used YouTube to help the children in the beginning. She would also bring in different pictures of animals, first asking them what they were called in Catalan and then teaching it to them in English. Again, I would work individually with students to help them improve their pronunciation skills and see if they remembered what each animal was called in English. For the next few weeks, I would work in small groups of 3 to 4 students. We would then play a matching game where the kids would try to find a matching pair of animals. After the game was over, I would make the kids tell me and their classmates which animals they had. If they forgot or had trouble pronouncing them, their classmates would typically help them. The last thing I got to do with the students was talk about different sports. Again, the teacher brought in different pictures to help the students learn what they were called in English. On my last day, I worked individually with each student and reviewed all the things they had learned while I was there. At first, I thought this was a challenge because of the language barrier between the kids and myself. I do not speak any Spanish or Catalan, so it was extremely difficult for me to communicate with the children. Even towards the end of my volunteer placement, I still had difficulty communicating with them because they were just beginning to learn English. Overall, I thought this was a really great experience. It showed me how much of an impact I can make on these young kids' lives. I also really enjoyed seeing how young the children are taught English in Spain. For me, I began learning Spanish when I was 13 years old, but it amazed me that they were learning at just 4 years old. I will always remember and cherish this unique experience.